Welcome back to the channel. It is new tool day in the shop once again. What we have here is an OEMTools 20-ton air over hydraulic press. So it's a 20-ton shop press. The whole reason I'm even going to make a video on this is because there really isn't a whole lot out there about it. This is essentially the only affordable air over hydraulic press I could find. If you don't know what that means, it means that you don't have to pump it like, a jack, like one of those guys, that you just hit a button and it creates hydraulic pressure from air pressure. There are two reasons that's important to me. The first of which is just pumping a bottle jack in a hydraulic press sucks. My dad has the 20-ton Harbor Freight press and has had it for 20 or 25 years. And it is just misery to just pump and pump and pump forever. The other issue is that by doing that, what you're doing is you're very slowly increasing the pressure as you pump and pump and pump until normally what happens is you hit a breaking point. So it's always a violent process to use the thing, and I just don't like it. I'm hoping that this guy works more like an air impact gun where we actually have impacts that, push stuff down. I don't know if that's going to be true in practice, but that's kind of what my thought was. So that is why I went with this one. What could make this exciting is that as you see it is pretty much how it showed up, except this showed up on a pallet, which it was not banded to. The reported shipping weight on this was like 350 pounds, and the, I think, reported manufacturing weight is like 180. So the shippers are way overcharging, and in this case it was AutoZone, who I bought it from, which will be a topic of a different video. But the shippers are just way overcharging them on weight. But anyway, it showed up with this end of the box open. Several of the boxes, like there are 3 boxes here if you couldn't tell, are just beat to crap. It looks like this guy took a fork or something to it at some point. I did not see all this stuff until it was too late. They had intentionally put this side down and put that box in front of this end and organized it in such a way that I could not see all this damage until it was done. So we're gonna get it open. Hope I have all the parts. Hope none of them are broken, and see if we can get the thing set up and working. Whether or not it's the right thing to do, I'm just going to cut these bands. Maybe. See if I can just lift the box off. So I've got all the straps cut on that guy. Yep, easy enough. If you're wondering, I did not get a choice in color. This is how it comes. Oh, good grief, and that's heavy. This is clearly one of our uprights. Just looking at it, it has some paint damage, but I don't think anything else. You'd have to work pretty hard to screw up the structural C channel. And there are the proceeds of our first big box. We got our 2 uprights back there, a whole bunch of crossbars. I assume 2 of these are for the top, 2 of them are probably for the bed. We've got some like green dowel pipes. I'm not sure what those would be for. Those look like the dowels for the main fixturing, like to press against. The crossbar over there, just general stuff. And I think the pump handle, because you can still use it that way, is up here too. That guy. Let's get after the only part of it that doesn't weigh 8 million pounds. See what's in there. Lots of bubble wrap. Oh, well that's nice. I don't know if those are pressed dies or what, but they look nice and they're all labeled nicely and plated nicely. That's cool. That almost certainly is the end of a ram. That's probably the one that belonged in the 20-ton slot. Looks like that's probably an arbor that they go with. And then I assume this mounts somewhere for them to go, I guess. I don't know. I was kind of hoping the small box here would have instructions. Now it's time to bring the box. Oh my God. The other box that weighs 5,000 pounds. Oh. Ugh. That guy almost certainly contains the RAM, but I wondered what else. That end of the box is completely smashed in, by the way. And I think it's going to want to be turned over, which I may or may not actually do. I think I'm going to have to, whether or not I want to. I'm kind of glad I did, because it illustrates just how completely wrecked this package is. All right. Ugh. Yay, instructions that are completely mangled from the ride here. Packing material that certainly took some abuse. Oh yeah, Yeah, look at that. Came with an air fitting even. Yeah, this is basically all one big box of really heavy hydraulic ram. Oof. And support plate, I bet that weighs 20 pounds on its own. Good grief. Hopefully nuts and bolts and something in here somewhere. Packaging took some abuse. This is almost certainly the pressure gauge. Yep, nice and big. Oil filled, oil covered as well. Sweet. A sucker for a nice gauge and a nylon ring that says right on the package it is for replacement only. So I guess we want to tape that to the press somewhere. Well, it's going to be the easy way to get this guy out. It's not so bad. I was afraid this was going to be 8,000 pounds. And that was covered with Chinesium grease. I'm instantly regretting not wearing gloves. Got that problem fixed. Big bag of nuts and bolts and such, which is good. That was one of the things I was really worried about not having. Oh geez, another couple of ridiculously heavy plates. These must be the actual press plates. It must be the actual, oh God, that weighs more than the cylinder. A piece of Luan on the bottom. Yeah, they straight up put a board in here to try and keep that from getting destroyed in shipping, which it worked. I mean, they sure as shit tried. Piece of $8,000 Chinese lumber right now. Now that I have mostly confirmed that I have all the correct pieces and I didn't see anything as like super damaged, I'm gonna go ahead and start assembly. Putting together the H-frame and stuff, I don't think it's gonna be that interesting, so I'll probably just do that, just like nut and bolting stuff together. When I get down to the hydraulics, I'll probably bring you guys back. I lied, we're back before I've assembled anything. That is mostly because the assembly instructions for this thing are just an exploded diagram. That's it. Everywhere on the diagram where there's a nut or a bolt or anything, it just says nut, bolt, washer, whatever. There are multiple sizes and lengths of nut and bolt and washer and stuff. So they're putting it all on your shoulders to figure out, which, okay. The issue is that some of these fasteners, like I don't have enough nuts, washers, etc. for every single nut and bolt. So I spent like 15 minutes just laying this all out just to see what I had. So some of these bolts must go into like the ram or whatever, must have holes drilled and tapped in it. But I'm not gonna know what goes where until we actually start putting things together. The first thing I went to do is just put the feet on the bottom of one of the uprights and grabbed one of these bolts, just first bolt I grabbed out of the bag. I'm like, that seems way too small and way too short. Maybe it is. It's gonna take a little bit of trial and error, I guess. We'll see. Holy crap. It took a considerable amount of effort to get there. I haven't connected the hydraulic system yet, but the framework is all built and I think I figured out what most things are. We'll zoom in and take a look at some details here in a second, but I'll hit some high notes. The super long bolts, there are 4 of them. They bolt the center segment together with the green little pipes. There are 4 medium diameter and length bolts. They go through each leg segment and pin in the rests they sit on. Then there's like 8 that are all the same size. They go through the uprights. So those horizontal stabilizers, front and back, they all go there. Then you're gonna have 4 little short stubby ones. Those are the ones that actually hold the pump on. And that's why I didn't have nuts and bolts. The pump is drilled and tapped. Then the gigantic 8 bolts are all at the top, which that's not a surprise. That's what's resisting all the hydraulic force. I built this one pretty much as you see it. I built it standing up. I don't think I would have done that twice. I think I would have built it upside down and then flipped it over. I'll show you why. The primary thing is because of this plate. And again, this plate is beefy enough that it has to resist the 20 tons of force, so it's freaking heavy. And it's got these weld ears that wrap around the channel and that just keeps it from falling off. But you have to have both front and back C-channels loose and one end totally open to be able to slide this thing on. And if you have a helper, that's really not a big deal, but me as one guy, it was what it sounds like. It was like a 5-hand job where I've got stuff leaning to my chest and other stuff leaning against the wall, and I'm just hoping to get it done. But the end result is pretty slick, that the ram moves back and forth. That is a feature I expected to get, so I'm glad to see I got it. That's pretty cool. But if I would have started building it upside down, I wouldn't have had to like hold this and balance it and all that crap. I could have just sat these on their face, slid that on, bolted the uprights straight up, and like had it leaning against the wall the whole time. And then as soon as you get feet on it, you can flip it up and go. Something that was basically a total mystery to me was this sheet metal bracket. I haven't seen any pictures of it with this thing, and it was in the box. I'm like, what's that do? The bolts I used to bolt it onto the frame were in a completely different bag and everything else. But here's the plate all that tooling came in, and there's no provision to like bolt this on the machine anywhere. But then they give you this bracket that holds all the tooling. So what the hell's that plate for? I don't know. I also don't know if I'm utilizing this correctly, but it holds all the stuff. I particularly like that I can put the manual handle in it and not have it like sticking out this way and having it protrude multiple feet into the room. I also like that these pins have these locking clips, so the pins aren't always trying to slide around or fight their way out or anything. You know, basically just like a barbell set, just little locking clips that hold the pins there. I also was not perfect on my leveling. You know, she rocks around a little bit. Now that it's pretty much fully built out and there's so much weight on the top of it, I probably could break all those bolts free at the bottom and get it to sit down. But just be aware if you think about doing that yourself. There's so much slop in all these holes that it's gonna kind of want to go everywhere. So really, I think if I were ever gonna level it up better than it is now, I'd probably want to do it with a helper. And the final mystery to me was what was going on with the ram tooling. Again, in that separate bag that had the hardware for that side mount, it came with these 2 Allen wrenches, one of which I still don't know what it does, but the other one gets in here on a set screw, and then you can remove that chunk and install this chunk in its place, and that is your quick change for all the tooling on the side of the machine. That's why they all have these ball detents, because you can meet them up just like that. So that's pretty cool. On like the Harbor Freight machine my dad has, to do, you know, stuff that's smaller than the RAM, you're stacking up sockets and it's not great. I'm really pleased to see that quick change system. Last but not least, somebody went to Max's School of Teflon Taping and just doped the crap out of that thing. So we know she's good quality now. The last thing to do is going to be to connect the hydraulics, and I thought that would be a big deal when I got it, but I really don't think it is. I think it's probably one of the easiest things on the whole machine to do. So the RAM, you can rotate it before you tighten down the collar that locks it to the slide plate. And I rotated it so my fitting is that way. And that seems like it'll give it the most range of motion while still keeping the hose from being like pinned up against the wall and putting pressure on the fittings. Can always change my mind later, I guess. You know, we just have these caps. Yeah, and they've got like check valves built into them. Look kind of like Schrader valves. And I'll give you a little better view here. Well, that guy is the cap. Okay, now the threads are good. So that guy is intended to turn. I don't know if the plug in it unthreads from it or if it does other things or what. I think I just need a screwdriver to pop that cap out. Again, absolutely no instructions whatsoever about any of this, so totally winging it. That guy does not want to just pop out of there anyway. Yeah, I can see threads on it. Modern problems, modern solutions, I guess? I don't know. There we go. This plug is shiny. So I don't know if there's going to be like oil running out of here in a second or not. No? Okay then, so just plug it in. I'm going to guess by the nature of that being just like a knurl that we probably don't want to get real tight. That's hand tight. If they wanted it more than that, they would have tooled it, right? So we'll find out. This guy is where our gauge goes, and it's an actual plug, just surprising. It's giant. Oh, I should have mentioned that too. The big bolts and stuff are all 24 millimeter. So you're going to need wrenches, sockets, whatever, up to 1 inch or 24 millimeter to get that done. That guy is 22. Ugh. Okay, and that is immediately like letting fluid out. It made vacuum noises. That must be why this is a real cap. Yeah, that's all wet with hydraulic oil. Okay. Put our gauge on. I don't think anything special about it. Remember, you're looking at the back of the machine right now, so yeah, and this thing is leaking oil everywhere. And the gauge is tooled, so that at least vaguely leads me to believe that I probably do want to put a wrench on it. And it is enormous. That is 1 1/16 because I don't have metric that large. Gauge feels like 17 is good. Can always tighten more later if I need to, but you can't unsnap it off. Let's see how I did with my hose travel. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. Just get a gentle arc in it that doesn't shove the hose out toward the wall and, you know, put pressure on this if I stick it up against the wall. But we still have full range of motion. So cool. I think now it's just time to like plug air into it and try it. I don't think this is all that difficult. This looks like a pressure release valve. Standard air check. Good news is we don't have any heinous air leaks. I'm gonna hit the button. You can hear that making that impact kind of noise. Oh yeah, ram's moving. Just gonna see if this is indeed a release. Yep. Cool. Show you what should be the business end. So we've confirmed it works, but we don't know if it's actually gonna put up with any pressure. So I'm just gonna run the ram down on the platinum blocks there. I've got them both stacked on each other, so that's like a 2-inch thick chunk of metal. I don't think I'm gonna run it up to 20 tons just for the fun of it, but we'll put some pressure on it and see what happens. One upgrade I can see right away that's coming is I had to move the bed up to make it a reasonable distance for the ram to reach. And the bed on this thing is about 1 inch short of being able to just walk it up side by moving each pin. So to adjust the height of this thing, you basically have to hold all the weight of it and then put a pin in, and then change hands and put a pin in the other side. This thing's gonna get a couple of ratcheting tie-down straps that just live with it. So I can just ratchet that thing up to wherever I want it to be and put the pins in and then set it where it needs to go. It's not all that heavy, but I'm not getting any younger either, so we may as well just prepare for it now. Let's put some juice to it and see what happens. So this thing is quite the air hog, but the other side of that story is you would have spent about 400 years pumping the ram on this thing out manually that far. So let's just run it up to about 10 tons, I guess. 5 didn't take long. There's 10. Screw it, says 20 tons. Let's stand back a bit. It's 15. That's 20. All right then, that's a whole lot of force. I'm not gonna press my luck and keep pushing the button, but it didn't really seem to be slowing down. Cool, let's do it again. That's my compressor that's slowing us down. And there it is. You can see straight away what the biggest actual problem is with it, and it's not a problem with it, it's a problem with all hydraulic presses, is that it's just a space occupier, especially in the hobbyist garage. I only need a press like once every 4 or 5 years, but I know right now I have at least 2 jobs lined up that I'm gonna need a press for, or would be nice to have a press for. I had to pay to have something pressed last year, which is a video you've yet to see, and it's just something that needed to happen for the shop. This particular one was ludicrously expensive as far as home hobbyist kind of stuff, but for anything air over hydraulic, you're gonna pay. To be honest, I really would have preferred like a 40 or a 60 ton, because I've actually had to pay to have stuff pressed before that didn't come free until like 55 tons. The only stuff I saw anywhere near that rating was like $10,000 or $15,000. This one right now, because inflation, because China, because COVID, all those things, this guy will set you back just under $1,000. Right now, if you paid like, full price, no discounts, whatever, I think it's like $900. I did not pay that much for it. There's a different video that'll be coming out about that, and maybe in the future prices will go back down, but my assumption through all the COVID and inflation and everything else is prices will remain unchanged or go up. So if you have the opportunity to make a capital investment, do it now, because it won't get cheaper, and it probably won't get easier to get either. That's the other thing. It took me 11 months to actually get this thing. I've been trying to buy it for almost a year. And the last dagger in the heart, this thing has a 90-day warranty, which, why? A $1,000 tool, you can't warranty it for a year. So its warranty will be over by the time I actually put it to any kind of work, just the way it goes. This wasn't $1,000, but it wasn't free either. I can't just make investments, I can't buy car parts and the tool all in one shot. It'd have been like a $2,000 purchase to do it all in one go. So here's what it is. Hopefully it holds up. If not, hopefully it's just like, a hydraulic thing with O-rings and stuff that can be somewhat easily serviced. Speaking of easily serviced, I'm sure this video's gone on way too long and I got other things to do. As always, I appreciate you guys stopping in for this video. We'll catch you on the next one. I'm Max, that's Saddington Bear, and we make videos like this all the time. Here are a couple links to some other videos we've made, and we really appreciate you guys stopping in.